mechanism or CBAM or carbon tax by the European Union. It starts today, the 1st of January 2026. It will have a major bearing on the margins of steel and aluminium exporters. Remember, this is coming in at a time when Indian exports are already reeling under the hefty 50% tariff penalty by the United States. And India is the second largest exporter of steel and aluminium to the EU after China. EU is essentially imposing the CBAM or the carbon tax on goods emitting carbon during the manufacturing process, and this tax will be imposed on steel and aluminium imports on the volume of the emissions that they produce. So what does this essentially mean? What is going to be the overall impact of CBAM? Now, GTRI, which is a trade body, claims that many exporters may have to cut prices by 15 to 22% to absorb the carbon cost, and it is MSMEs that could bear the heaviest burden. Exporters using high emission production routes like blast furnace for making steel, they will face the steepest loss of competitiveness. But low emission exporters can actually turn CBAM into a competitive advantage by becoming cheaper after carbon. In fact, firms that fail to prepare risk losing EU's market access, not just due to quality or price, but compliance gaps as well. Now, there is an interesting angle to the trade talks as well as far as EU and India are concerned. Well, CBAM has been a contentious issue in India-EU FTA negotiations as well, and India has maintained over the past few months that we have known our concerns to the EU known on CBAM. In fact, CIM, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, is all set to visit Brussels on January 8th and 9th, 2026. He will be meeting the European Commissioner for Trade, Maros Sefcovic, and this visit is to intensify efforts to conclude a comprehensive and balanced trade deal. As far as that trade deal is concerned, it is something that Rajesh Agarwal, India's Commerce Secretary, also accepted, that these discussions are now in the final leg and they have entered the most difficult stage, and both the sides are looking at bridging those differences and closing those talks soon. So whether there will be any concessions on CBAM, the carbon tax, that remains to be seen.
Okay, Sumita, thanks so much for taking us through all of those details. But with that, we completely timed out on this edition of Midcap Masala. Thanks so much for tuning in. But stay tuned, because Buy Now, Sell Now takes all the action.